Well, welcome to this edition of Weather to Watch on Sunday, January 26, 2025. Look at the satellite loop for the lower 48 here on this Sunday afternoon as darkness falls over New England. We have a weaker weather system sort of passing through the southeast, as you can see there. That system is producing lighter rains there. That's not the main event. That's in connection with this cutoff low right here, and it is the main player. It's actually bringing beneficial rains to California and snows in the higher elevations. So it is a nice weather system to have, except when it rains heavy and you have fire burn situations, or even if you don't, it could lead to mudslides in parts of California. So you want rain, but you don't want too much rain. And that's the unfortunate consequence of that. But that's the system that we're going to be talking about that will affect the lower part of the lower 48 here as the next, let's say, 5 days unfold. Well, let's take a look at this cutoff low and see what it's going to do. We have that feature, which is right here. And notice the reason I call it a bowling ball is because it just looks like it's slowly just kind of spinning and moving across the southern U.S. Meanwhile, the strong flow here continues to push several waves into New England and the Northeast. And then this bowling ball, this cutoff low, kind of opens up a little bit. It's moving underneath a ridge. So the jet stream is kind of going up and back down. And yet this cutoff low is displaced from the main jet stream flow. So it actually moves maybe a little bit slower than it might normally. The cutoff lows are generally not known for their speed anyway, but slow movement equates to, let's say, higher rain totals or higher snow totals as a result of it just really not getting and going, moving fast and getting out of any given area in any kind of fast way. So that's why Texas and areas nearby we're going to be watching for storminess later this week. Again, it's a mild pattern for much of the U.S. This map here shows high temperatures at select cities, and the color pattern you can probably figure out. The orange and yellow colors are warmer than normal, and the greens and blues are cooler than normal. Also, I want you to look at this. This is a kind of a neat map the Weather Service makes. They have this blue dot or blue star and red star. The red star in South Florida, the blue dot there in the Sierra Nevada. That's the highest and lowest temperature forecast on Monday. So I want you to notice that usually on the high temperature side, Florida and Texas are going to do battle back and forth. But this blue dot moves from there to New England, actually upstate New York, on Tuesday. Very mild across the northern plains, cool pockets with that low and also with that jet stream flow in the northeast. And you'll notice that New England keeps winning the star. So it moves to Maine on Wednesday. That upper level low is starting to spread its cooling influence more into the panhandle of Texas by Wednesday. By Thursday, guess what? That star is still in New England. And we have, again, cooler weather spreading out. And will it be cool enough at this core of this low for this to be snow here? That's something that we're going to eye very carefully. And even on Friday, again, the star goes to, it looks like Burlington, Vermont. And that's funny that we picked that city because we're going to talk about it here in a little more detail. Well, first of all, here are the current winter weather advisories and lake effect snow warnings. It's like a broken record for these folks, but this is targeting more areas of Lake Ontario instead of Erie this time. And the rest of these are actually wind advisories, pretty breezy out in parts of the Northeast. And so I want you to take a look at this. This is just through Wednesday the 29th. This is the percent chance of 2 inches or more of snow falling. And you can clearly see there's a pattern developing here. And let's just pick Burlington, Vermont as an example for the next several days through midweek, more than a 50-50 chance of seeing accumulating snow of more than 2 inches. And it goes beyond that. So if we take a look at the GFS, this is kind of a meteogram, which is just a way of plotting many different weather variables out over a specific time period. This one happens to be 10 days, and it's the GFS model that we're looking at. So while they are having temperatures at about freezing here in Burlington for the next couple of days, we have about a 6-day stretch of weather where the temperatures are going to be far below freezing with single-digit lows. And then these are the little snow bursts connect with those little weather systems as they rapidly move through the jet stream flow. And if you let that accumulate, and it will, because the temperatures are going to be cold enough to let it happen, we're getting into the 4 to 6 inch range here over the next 10 days. And that's just one station in New England. And we also have winter storm, not to leave the southwestern U.S. out, but we have winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings for the higher elevations of Arizona, Nevada, also Colorado or California, I should say, and even the mountains north of Los Angeles. It's rain in the valley, but certainly is snowing up in the mountains. Well, as this low continues to move on out into the plains, we're looking at a heavy rain situation. This is the total precipitation forecast. This is Thursday and Friday. There might be some light rain out ahead of this. This is that system I showed you for today and early tomorrow, but that's not really what's going to accumulate the rain. It's this right here, this low. And if you look here, you got this first kind of fire engine red color. That is indicating about a 3-inch total. And then this color right here is getting up to 4 inches over that 2-day period. So pretty significant, and a broad area really of 2-inch rains that go as far north as Missouri possibly and all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And then this is total precipitation. So if any of this is snow, and some of this back here might be, this would be what happened if you took the snow and melted it down. So it doesn't really forecast. It's not saying it's going to rain there exclusively. It's just saying that's what happens when you melt it down, just total precipitation. But let's take a look at the severe weather too. So this is the SPC's outlook for portions of Texas on Wednesday. So we got about a 15% chance of severe weather within a 25-mile circle that is bounded roughly by, well, we're looking at Midland to Abilene, with San Angelo right in the middle of that. And I think that, the way these upper level lows are structured, oftentimes these become just plain squall lines. So discrete supercells, which we're always a little more worried about, may or may not occur in that. And it's too far out to have that kind of detail. But just know that upper level lows are really known for their heavy rain, as we just showed you, but can produce severe weather lines as well. And if you let that go one day to Thursday, what's interesting is it barely moved. Comes back to that whole idea that these upper level lows are slowpokes. They just don't want to move. So we have this, again, 15% chance of severe weather, which shifted almost to Waco, almost to Dallas, and that's on Thursday. Well, this is the GFS precipitation type forecast. It's quite a ways out, Thursday afternoon. Okay, but it gives you a general idea. So on the cold side of this storm, this is where the snows that I've been talking about might occur here, will occur. It's just a question of how much snow is that going to produce, because you'll notice that it's a temperature issue, I think, with the profile not completely supporting snow, but sometimes in the core of a low like that, it's cold enough to it's just pure snow. So that's something that has to be eyed very carefully. Meanwhile, this is a healthy area of rain with some embedded thunderstorms. All we have to do is shift gears and just move that exact same valid time southward. And you'll see on noon Thursday, this is where that severe weather was being forecast by the SPC. So that's a squall line right there. And the longer the moisture is allowed to come up with this slow-moving system, the juicier the atmosphere is for rain totals, and the more chance you have for unstable air, which is what leads to thunderstorm development. And finally, if we take a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature forecast, this is valid from February 1st to the 5th. You see a broad swath of the U.S. is going to be above normal, as we've been talking about here, with the colder air in the north. And the storm track kind of is ill-defined here because we're talking about a cutoff low that's leaving by this time. But I think with time, this cold air is going to move a little bit more. It's still going to be warm in the southeast, cold in the northwest, but the line between the two, I think, is going to start shifting. Some of the longer range forecasts are indicating that could mean a shift in a more traditional low pressure track, and that's something we can look toward analyzing maybe later this week. That'll wrap it up for this edition of Weather to Watch. Remember, it's YouTube. Please like the video if you like what you see. I also welcome comments for improvement or just comments on the weather we just talked about, and we'll see you in the next video.